Yo, what's up? My name's Patrouski, and welcome to my quick preparation guide for the upcoming raids in the Lunar New Year event within 2026. If you don't know, we'll most likely be seeing the Lunar New Year event within PokeMMO drop around the day of the holiday. We never know for sure when it comes to events like this, and if you haven't seen my general preparation guide, I definitely recommend watching that before this video. It should be linked in the description. But raids can be a very difficult thing to jump into as a newer player in Pokemon. They require a lot of preparation. They're generally seen as endgame content, but you, as a newer or intermediate level player, can complete them if you prepare properly. So today, I'm going to try my best to hopefully help you do that, and if I do so successfully, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more videos like that. If I don't, leave a comment on how I can improve, please politely. First things first, let's cover some of the general information. First thing, you need 2 OT Pokemon for most raids, and then I believe 4 OT Pokemon for the final, level 100 Shaman raid, but most people aren't going to be doing that. There is a lower level 5-star Shaman raid and then a 6-star Shaman raid. I recommend trying to have as many OT Pokemon as possible. And if you don't know, OT Pokemon are just Pokemon with your original trainer. It means that usually you bred them or caught them in the wild. So you can see I'm not Kevin STL. This is actually not my OT Pokemon. Let's see if I have a single one here. Here we go. Typhlosion. This is my OT. It means that I, got it and bred it up and it originated from this account. So make sure to have enough OT Pokemon to do all of the raids. Otherwise, you literally can't queue up for them. Next up, I recommend level 80 for most raid Pokemon. You can go lower. Some only level 65. Some need level, 95. I think just going for level 80 on all raid Pokemon and then leveling them up to 100 if you need to, having some XP candies on standby, or just knowing ahead of time, any Pokemon you need for Shaman will need to be level 100, but everything else can just be like 65 to 80-ish. But as a general rule of thumb, I try to level all my raid Pokemon up to at least level 80, and then I can adjust from there. There are 12 raids in the Lunar New Year event, and then also a Shaman raid. So I guess technically 13 or 14 raids if you count the 2 different tiers of the Shaman raid. The Shaman raid is the only way to obtain Shaman within PokeMMO, obviously other than buying it off the GTL. But if you want an OT Shaman for collection purposes or want a chance at getting the first ever shiny Shaman within PokeMMO, is actually one of the only Pokemon within PokeMMO that does not have a shiny version found yet. It is technically possible, but we have not seen a shiny Shaman, even though it's been in the game for 3 years. So you could literally be the world's first person to do it if you complete all 12 raids and then the Shaman boss battle. I've managed to compile a list of about 30 PVM Pokemon. I know it seems like a lot, and it kind of is, but also those Pokemon will be used in the Xmas event and the Halloween event, or if you've already played those events, you might already have a lot of these Pokemon on your account. And it's just never a bad idea to build up good PVM Pokemon. You just need so many of those in PokeMMO nowadays for that endgame content, and it's been cheaper than ever right now to build PVM Pokemon. With how cheap good IV Pokemon are, it's a really good time to build up all these Pokemon. Now, you do need around 10 items as well, and we'll cover all these Pokemon and all these items in detail here in a quick second, how to build them. The items, I say kinda because, for example, I count all of the 20% boosting items as one item, like magnets and things like that, which are pretty cheap, so I wouldn't, stress about getting some. They're like 5,000 Pokeyen. And then finally, I will not be covering specific strategies for each raid, as I feel like that's overwhelming. I don't need to be telling you guys, hey, keep an eye out for the 33% shield proc that happens on the Slacking raid. This is a preparation guide. We'll get to the mechanics in the raids themselves when they actually release, because also things could be subject to change. We could see changes before the event actually drops. For specific strategies, I'm a huge fan of the Raid Den Discord and then Cav on YouTube. Both of these resources will be linked in the description. These are fantastic ways to learn about raids, get more in depth, especially in terms of great detail. The Raid Den Discord does a really good job. I believe that they were actually community members from them. The Raid Discord are the people who claimed the developing of the Meloetta strategy, and that was the hardest raid in PokeMMO. It took multiple days for people to finally beat that one. So there's some really talented people over in the Raid Den Discord who are more than willing to help. They're just very passionate about raids in PokeMMO and getting all the information out to every type of player. And personally, I believe there's about a 95% chance that we see the same exact raids from last year's event in this year's. Shout out to Call Me Sensei for organizing this guide over on the forums, one of my favorite text-based guide makers over on the official PokeMMO forums. But here's a list of all the raids we saw last year and where you can find them in the game. You can see all their locations here. There was Lopunny at Berry Forest in Kanto, and all the other, I'm not going to name every single route, excuse me, but there was Lopunny, there was Purugly, there was Grumpig, there was Zebstrika, there was Stoutland, there was Ampharos. You can just pause if you want to see a specific raid in all their locations. There was Steelix, there was Slacking, there was Tauros, there was Braviary, Excadrill, Gyarados, and of course Shaman as the final raid. All right, but let's go ahead and move into what Pokemon you guys actually need to build for the event. And before that, I do want to cover, on average, in general, how you want to build these Pokemon. I'm going to cover the, nature, IVs, and EVs. So typically, there's two different types of Pokemon you build for raids: a physical attacking Pokemon and a special Pokemon. There are also utility Pokemon. There's only 3 of those we use in the Lunar New Year event, and I'll cover those in detail once we get to them. But firstly, physical Pokemon, pretty simple to keep it nice and simple. Nature, you want Adamant, Naughty, or Lonely. These can all work. Adamant is obviously ideal if you want to make it multi-purpose and use it in both PvP and PVM. I think going for that ideal nature is better, but Naughty and Lonely absolutely work. 25 plus attack and speed IVs. Going for bulk sometimes on physical attackers is nice. A good example is a Pokemon like Tyranitar. You can go Assault Gear, which is an item that helps increase its bulk. So there are certain Pokemon like Garchomp, Tyranitar that maybe it's worth to put some bulk into if you want to multi-purpose or use it elsewhere. But if you were just a newer player, just 25 plus attack and speed in the IVs works perfectly fine. You just need to be able to beat the raids. You don't need to be able to stomp them, right? And then in terms of EVs, just 252 attack and speed. Same as very simple for special attacking Pokemon. The natures are modest, mild, or rash. Anything that boosts its damage but doesn't subtract from speed. I do not recommend going brave nature on physical attackers or quiet on special. I think it is too harmful too often. For IVs for special attackers, once again, very simple, just 25 plus IVs in special attack and speed. You can even go 20 plus sometimes. And then EVs, you want 252 in special attack and speed. Next up, let's start jumping into the Pokemon you want to prepare. I do have a video called how to build every raid Pokemon you could possibly build within PokeMMO, a very in-depth, very detailed video on my channel. That is not what we are here for today. I want to give you guys the smallest list of Pokemon possible that you need to prepare and still be able to beat all of the Lunar New Year events, all the raids, right? So let's jump into it. First, we have the Fire team. I've separated all these Pokemon by their typing because usually when you're heading to a raid, you're bringing one type of a bunch of powerful Pokemon and just countering that raid entirely. So first we have the Fire team, which consists of about 7 Pokemon, which is kind of funny. You would normally only want 6 Pokemon, but there's just a few different options here. Ones are used in different locations or different things, and you can reuse Darmanitan in so many different raids. You can actually see he is commonly slotted in on the fighting team as well. So Darmanitan is just so powerful. This guy just does so much freaking damage. Look at this guy's base attack of 140, and I'll cover a really basic Darmanitan build, but anything marked as physical, once again, you want to build in the way I mentioned earlier: Adamant, Naughty, Lonely, and then IVs 25 attack, 25 plus speed, and then EVs, 2v2v2. You don't need 31s. Don't get obsessed with the green number. I know the green number is pretty. You can go it if you want to. You do not need it. I'm not going to cover all these builds in too much depth. I'm just going to flash through, a very simple physical attacking Pokemon. Flare Blitz and Earthquake, your biggest attacking moves. Sometimes you'll throw off a superpower as well if it's on that fighting type team. Next up, we move on to these special attackers. We're going to lead with Charizard, which has hidden ability access. It needs hidden ability access to do the real damage you want it to do. This thing can be Flamethrower, Heat Wave, Fire Blast, Blast Burn. You can go so many different moves on this. Tailwind in a backup slot is also nice. You can always adjust moves by TMs and move tutors. Make sure to have those resources on you. You can adjust as you need to. I am constantly changing the move slots on my raid mons depending on what raid we're doing. If we need that flamethrower accuracy, if we're leading with a gravity or a sweet scent Pokemon, etc. So don't worry about getting the moves perfect. Just worry about getting the Pokemon built. Next up, Typhlosion, similar thing. You want that Eruption, and Flamethrower. One of the most used, most common PVM Pokemon in PokeMMO. I think it needs no introduction. Next up, Chandelure, Heat Wave, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, whatever else you need. You can go Safeguard. Sometimes you'll see that, but that's usually in the Halloween event. Pretty rarely do we see Safeguard in raids. Ninetales, this is a pretty important one. You need hidden ability access. You need that Drought. This is your main weather setting Pokemon we see in raids. The most common weather setting mon you see in raids. You gotta have hidden ability access on this thing. Fake Tears is a very relevant extra move to have on this Pokemon. Keep that in mind. And then Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Weather Ball can work. And this is just a simple special attacking Pokemon. Next up, Volcarona. You can go Fiery Dance, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, depending on what you need. Bug Buzz, go a few different things here. This Pokemon can be used in different raid teams. And then finally, Moltres, probably the Pokemon. If you were to not build any Pokemon on this entire list, I think you could go ahead and omit Moltres. It's kind of expensive as well, being around 300,000 Pokeyen, which is not pretty cheap for a legendary, thankfully. But the elemental orbs to actually fix IVs are decently expensive, man. If you already have a Moltres built, hell yeah, that's awesome. If not, you don't need to shill out all the Pokeyen to buy one. Next up are the fighting Pokemon and the fighting type team. This is where we start really cross-referencing different resources. Shout out to the Raid Den Discord. I cannot give them enough credit. They're doing really cool things like creating these beautiful infographics. You know, maybe just slightly more visual appealing than my amazing notepad document, right, guys? No, but seriously, everybody whose name is at the bottom of this little infographic, I cannot thank you enough. Now, I will say they do recommend a few more Pokemon than me. You don't need all of these Pokemon to beat the Lunar New Year event specifically, even though all of these Pokemon are fantastic raid Pokemon. If you want to prepare for raids in the future, like, you know, looping back around to like Xmas or Halloween, hell yeah, build all these mons. You know, the more the merrier, the more the better, right? But if you're just trying to get the Lunar New Year event done, take it step by step. You don't need all of those Pokemon, but they are great and they have the beautiful builds there as well. So my recommendations personally, Medicham is a tier 1 Pokemon, does so much damage. Gallade with the sharpness ability, that is super important. Medicham, you need pure power. Mienshao, all these mons do so much damage. Hitmonlee, and then Primeape with that Vital Spirit. Loops back around is really cheap to build as well. Primeape is a very cheap Pokemon. Most of these mons, you're looking for close combat. You can go high jump kick on some of them, but take it from someone who has used high jump kick a fair amount of times. That 90% accuracy definitely can bite you in the butt. I have missed my fair share of high jump kicks in raids, and I've definitely learned to, you know what, maybe just getting a little bit less but guaranteed damage off is you know, more powerful, much better. But even then, like, usually you're hitting max damage cap with just close combat, and the only exception might be Hitmonlee. Since Hitmonlee gets the Reckless ability, it actually is relevant. He powers up recoil damage moves, right? So the fact that you can miss a high jump kick and it deals damage back to you, that counts as recoil damage. So going high jump kick on Hitmonlee, probably worth it. Also important to mention that all of the fighting type Pokemon that I mentioned, I recommend, are all physical attacking, so you can build them all Adamant, Lonely, Naughty, 2v2 attack EVs. You guys know the drill. Next up are the electric Pokemon. I heavily recommend any Pokemon with the plus and minus ability. These things do so much damage and are so freaking strong. That includes Plusle, Minun, and Ampharos. You can also go Manectric. The reason I don't recommend Manectric is that it's really, really expensive, and let me show you why. You need hidden ability access on Manectric. So right now, the cheapest Manectric is currently 666,000 Pokeyen. I'm not expecting the average player to have that build. That's kind of ridiculous. It was a very limited time niche Pokemon from last year's Lunar New Year event. But it is a very powerful raid mon if you know, can afford it. So I love that the infographic at least includes it. We also see Pikachu on here. Now, it's really important. Pikachu is a great Pokemon, really good budget electric type attacker. Pikachu honestly probably could be on my list. It's a fantastic Pokemon. You get to use Light Orb or Light Ball for Pikachu, which really matters in raids. That frees up a new item slot, so you don't have to, you know, use choice specs on it or something like that. You can put it on another Pokemon and increase your damage. When you're able to have these niche items like this, it really does increase your overall damage in raids. The important thing with Pikachu, make sure not to go a hidden ability access Pikachu, or if you do, make sure to get rid of its hidden ability access. Its hidden ability is Lightning Rod. It will draw in your friendly electric type attack, so be careful. Do not use a Lightning Rod Pokemon when doing electric type raids. Keep in mind, Ampharos does have to be hidden ability actually to get access to that plus and minus. So make sure your Ampharos is hidden ability access. Make sure your Pikachu isn't, or if it is, change its ability with an ability pill. All of these Pokemon that we are mentioning are special attackers. Aside from Pikachu, you can actually go physical or special with Pikachu. Usually you'd want to go physical, but all of the Plusle, Minun, Ampharos, and Zapdos mons are all special attackers. You can also go Magnezone as you see it over on the side, but once again, I'm trying to keep this list as minimal as possible. These electric type attackers are mostly used for the Gyarados raid, as well as I believe the Braviary raid. And I know Zapdos is expensive, but it's just so freaking powerful, and nothing really replaces it. Zapdos is just such a unique Pokemon with such a unique typing. When the Gyarados raid first released, I think the mechanics have slightly changed. I was actually able to fully defeat the Gyarados raid with just a Zapdos. You used to be able to just Volt Switch into the Gyarados and then like switch out to like any other 5 Pokemon and have them just die immediately on the Gyarados, you know, attacking them or whatever. And Zapdos Volt Switch just did so much damage. You could essentially 1v, you know, kill the Gyarados raid with one Pokemon, just Zapdos. That's how strong it is. Now, it wasn't exactly one Pokemon. You would need like Tailwind and other support from your teammates, but it was really a testament to Zapdos' strength. Next up, onto the dark type attackers, which all that I recommend are physical. I recommend these 5 Pokemon: Honchkrow, Bisharp, Absol, Shiftry, and Tyranitar, often looking for Sucker Punch or Assurance as the 2 moves on most of these Pokemon. You could also throw Weavile in there, very powerful Pokemon. If you have Hydreigon built from the Halloween event, that can also work. That's why I like showing all the different options like that the Raid Den Discord shows off, is that you might already have some of these Pokemon built. If you play PvP, maybe you have a Hydreigon built. If you did the Halloween event, maybe you have a Darkrai summoning orb, right? So you might have some of these Pokemon built, and if you do, you can go ahead and use those. You know, you don't need the exact ones that I mentioned, but I do just try to give you guys the shortest list possible. But the real pragmatic shortest list is going to be utilizing any Pokemon you have in your PC already. But just to recap really quickly, once again, all physical attackers, so 2v2 attack, 2v2 speed, adamant, naughty, or lonely natures, Honchkrow, Bisharp, Absol, Shiftry, and Tyranitar. You might want that bulk on Titar, as it can be a Assault Gear Pokemon as well. Next up, onto the ground type raid attackers, all of which I recommend are physical. The 5 that I recommend: Garchomp, Krookodile, Golurk, Marowak, and Excadrill. But this is the loosest team of the bunch, in my opinion. You really just want any 5 Earthquake Stab Pokemon, and that means Stab is same type attack bonus. So just any 5 high-level ground type Pokemon with Earthquake will probably work for this. This was for the Zebstrika raid, which was the easiest raid, or one of the easiest raids of the event. What's more important is having a gravity Pokemon, and we'll get to utility Pokemon here after this, I believe. But you could even be really greedy if you wanted to be super ultra hyper greedy. If you don't have time to build 5 Earthquake Pokemon, you might be able to beat Zebstrika with like the Sun team. Like, it was just not a difficult raid, so just you could try to do that. But if you have the time in Pokeyen, try to prepare the ground type raiders. They'll be used in other areas of the game as well in the future. If you're going to build a Garchomp, I do recommend trying to go for bulk on that as well, since it's just such a used Pokemon within the game, and it's a decently tanky Pokemon, or it rather can be. A lot of the other mons, even Rhyperior, I know it's tanky, but you're probably not using Rhyperior in PvP. If you are, shout out, you're kind of Giga Chad for that, but not a very powerful mon in other areas aside from just raids. I wouldn't worry about bulk too much. If you want to, you can, but as a newer player, once again, just trying to give you guys the bare minimum that you need to complete the raids, not crush them. And then finally, onto the final list of Pokemon, but arguably the most important, is the list of utility Pokemon. First things first, a Murkrow with hidden ability access, Prankster, is so freaking crucial. This mod is used for every single raid, every single thing in PokeMMO. It's just so powerful. Being able to set up Tailwinds, Hazes, Defogs with that priority is so crucial. A raid Murkrow is usually going to look something like this. You can go a defensive nature, really any defensive nature, sassy, bold, relaxed, like whatever works. And then you can go defense EVs, whether HP, defense, Spadef, or just no EVs. Like, the stats on a raid Murkrow really don't matter. You can go bulky like I did. If you want to have it be multi-purpose, multi-usable, use it in PvP as well, or like VGC, for example, then maybe you want to go ahead and make it bulky or build it however you want to. But a Murkrow's main job in raids is to set up its priority move with Prankster, and then kind of get KO'd and just die and let the other Pokemon come in and clean up. These are the true heroes of raids, the real support Pokemon. Next up, we have Sableye, which is a very similar thing. Sableye, you want to go Prankster ability. Once again, very, very, very crucial. And I believe that, let's double check. I believe that is, yes, that is hidden ability access. So please make sure both Murkrow and Sableye are hidden ability access. If you don't have a hidden ability access one, it will not be usable in raids. It's just that simple. It needs to have that hidden ability. You can go a defensive nature like I have here with Relaxed, and also go defensive EVs, which I need to actually re-EV train this. And then Gravity is the big one here. Gravity has really popped off as a cool move in raids. It helps your accuracy on, so there's a lot of things you wouldn't expect. It helps your accuracy, which is weird. So like things like Fire Blast or Blast Burn become either close to 100% accuracy, if not 100% accuracy. And then it grounds electric types like that Zebstrika we talked about, allowing you to Earthquake it when it tries to Magnet Rise. But it can really have any stats. Just make sure that it is Prankster, hidden ability access, and Gravity. You can go other moves as well, like Light Screen and Reflect used to be used a lot, but have kind of fallen out of favor over the years. And then next up, Gothitelle with Heal Block, or a Smeargle with Heal Block. This is once again another like kind of new age Pokemon popping off in PokeMMO raids. Plus Speed Nature, I recommend. And then this looks very specific, but really just 2v2 Speed EVs, 2v2 HP is fine. And then having a high speed, 20 plus speed IV. You usually just put Choice Scarf on this thing to get off a heal block, and then it dies. That's it. Its main job is just to get off a heal block, and then it's done its job. There are so few Pokemon that learn heal block as a move within PokeMMO that Gothitelle or Smeargle are usually your best options. And then next up, Xatu with Magic Bounce, another hidden ability required Pokemon. You need to have hidden ability access on this thing, and that's how you get the Magic Bounce to go off. It's used against the Tauros raid, where it will try to scary face all of your leading Pokemon, and the Magic Bounce bounces that back at them. So you can go modest, you can go defensive, trying to build this in some multi-use way. If you want, this similar, to the other ones, if you want to use this in PvP and both PVM, I would just prioritize the PvP stats, and really whatever works for the most part is going to work in raids. You might want to prioritize speed, like a plus speed nature, and then speed EVs will be relevant, to be fair, making sure you could get off a Tailwind or a Defog or some sort of attack after the Magic Bounce, but the Magic Bounce is your main priority, and it does that by just sitting on the field and leading as your lead Pokemon. Next up, I'm just going to brush through the list of items you need. Things like Choice Band, Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, Life Orb, Type Gems. Now, those are really important. Those have really become more and more effective in recent years with different raids. Things like the Electric Gem. You can see here, let's get this on screen properly. The Electric Gem right here, very cheap, but it is consumable, so it does cost you a little bit of Pokeyen, but they are a one-time item that increases a move by 50%. So it's essentially a Choice Specs, but for one turn, and you don't get locked into the move, and that's really relevant. Like, often you only need that one turn of extra damage. Life Orb, Type Gems, the Type Plates. So if you just look up like fighting, you can see Fist Plate down here, Fist Plate, Fighting Plate. It's 1,300 Pokeyen, super cheap. It's just an item that gives a 20% boost to fighting type moves, but you can also look up like the Black Belt. All the 20% items have different names. You might want to Google like, 20% boosting items in PokeMMO, but all the main ones are the Magnet for electric, the Charcoal for fire, the Black Belt we already covered for fighting, and then I believe Dark is Black Glasses. Yeah, many of you probably know in your Pokemon storyline runs, you run into Black Glasses a ton. They're pretty simple, and I'm sure a lot of you guys already know about them, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. Next up, Assault Gear. If you were to not go, or Assault Vest, excuse me, if you were to not go for a specific item out of all the items, I would probably go ahead and skip out on Assault Vest. You don't need it. It doesn't increase your damage. Sometimes in certain raids, things like Tyranitar or certain tankier mons like to go this to stay alive and get off multiple attacks, but this is the one you could skip in the most, in my opinion. Heat Rock, pretty cheap item. They go up a little bit more in price these days to help your sun stay up on your Ninetales. Rocky Helmet. Rocky Helmet you usually put on your Murkrow, your Sableye, any of your like sacrificial mons. You put it on them to just do a little bit of chip damage to the raid boss when it actually attacks. And then Expert Belt is kind of a slept on one. It just gives a 20% boost to all super effective moves. And alrighty, I believe that covers everything. If I missed anything, let me know. I did purposely omit certain pieces of information. I wanted to keep this nice and simple and hopefully be a good guide for those, if it's your first event season doing raids, or maybe you're a veteran player just trying to brush up quickly and figure out, make sure you have all the mons you need. But really, this is aimed at your average PokeMMO player jumping into one of their first event seasons of raids. And hopefully this was helpful to you. If it was, leave a like on the video. That helps me out tremendously to let me know you like the content. Subscribing for daily PokeMMO videos is fantastic. Follow me on Twitch for streams Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. ET. My Discord's down below, which is an incredibly helpful tool during the event itself. And if you want to go above and beyond and support the content, if my guides have earned it from you this event season, and you can afford it, YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, and PayPal and Venmo donations do go a very long way. And once again, shout out to people like Cav, Call Me Sensei, the whole Raid Den Discord. The community has really come together. You guys have made making guides like this so much easier for me. I used to have to do all the legwork myself, all the research the past few years, and now we're just getting better at the game, getting better as a community, communicating more, and it's making it more accessible for the average and casual players to get into things like raids. And it's really beautiful how far Pokemon has come over the past just short 4 years during this renaissance period. But I will see you guys during the Lunar New Year event. Enough gushing. Have a great day. Good luck in your raids. I'll see you guys then. But for now, peace Reno. Yo, what's up? Patrouski here. I wanted to take this second to say thank you so much for watching the entire video. It is thanks to people like you I'm able to make the content that I do, as well as everybody whose name is listed here. That's it for me. Have a fantastic day.